Hello everyone, I'm Andrew with Everwood Creations. Today I'm going to show you how to make this simple jig that allows you to get more use out of your jointer. For most of us, when we start off in woodworking, we buy a jointer that is 6 inches wide, which is great for most applications. But sometimes we have a project that would be, say, better or easier if we started off with flat square stock that was, say, 7 or 8 inches wide. Luckily, with just a small amount of materials and just a few minutes' time, we can make this simple jig that allows us to do just that with our 6-inch jointer. Let me show you how.
The first step in this process is to measure the total length of your planer bed in combination with your infeed and outfeed tables. The basic concept of milling boards is that we first joint one face of the board to remove any bow, twist, or cupping. We then use this face as the reference surface on the planer bed to get two flat and parallel surfaces on the board. If we pass a board over the jointer that is wider than the cutter head, we will end up with a ridge on that face of the board that was not cut. So we need to make a jig that allows the part of the board that is flat to act as the reference surface, and the part that was not cut to not cause interference. For this jig, I am using 1/2 inch MDF since it is flat and smooth. I start by ripping it to 6 inches wide since that is the width of my jointer's cutter head. The next step is to cut the strip of MDF to length. The total length should be the measurement that you got from step 1, as this piece is going to act as an auxiliary table for your planer. I also cut a scrap piece of hardwood to attach to one end of the MDF to act as a hook or cleat and keep it in place on the planer bed while in use. Now we just need to attach the cleat. I start by marking a line on one end of the MDF that represents the total thickness of the cleat. I then drill and countersink some holes for the screws. Next, I clamp the cleat to the bottom of the MDF and using the holes I just drilled as guides, drill some small pilot holes in the cleat. Now, I just drive a few screws to hold it all together. We are almost done with the planer sled. The last step here is to use some paste wax to make sure it is nice and slick. We don't want there to be much friction here as the boards are passing over it. I use some simple paste wax and put on a nice heavy coat. I allow it to dry for a minute and then come back and buff it off with a clean cloth. Last, I check that it is slick enough with a piece of scrap wood. It looks great. So to test this jig, the first step is to joint a board that is wider than the jointer. As you can see here, I have removed the factory guard on my jointer and replaced it with a shop-made guard. Obviously, this is something that is to be done at your own risk. A standard American-style jointer will have what most call a pork chop-style guard that is spring-loaded and pivots out of the way as you feed in material, then pivots back to cover the blade after the cut. The guard I made here is in the style that is found on European-style jointers. I made it by screwing together a couple of pieces of scrap plywood. Whatever you choose to do here is up to you. Just read your tool manufacturer's instructions as to how to remove the guard, and then make sure you are safe. The board I am jointing here is 10.5 inches wide, and I would say that is really pushing the capacity of this method. As you joint the board, you will start to develop a ridge on the face that is hanging over the edge of your jointer. If your stock is too cupped or twisted, this method may not work well because that ridge will start to bump into other parts of your jointer and interfere with getting a nice smooth face. Once you have a continuous cut along the length of the board, you're ready to move on to the planer. The final step in this process is to plane the other face of the board that we just jointed. By placing our planer sled on the bed of the planer, we allow the jointed part of the board to act as our reference face for the entire board. The ridge hangs over the edge of the sled. Make sure you raise up your planer head and put the sled in place. Then using it and your board, set the height of your cut. The cleat on the bottom keeps the sled in place as you pass the board through. Once the top face is flat and smooth, you can turn off your planer, remove the sled, and then adjust the height of cut to the thickest part of your board. Now you can easily plane the other side down to be parallel with the first.
Thanks for watching today. I hope you found this short video to be both interesting and informative. We have many projects and instructional videos in the works, so to keep up with everything that we're doing here, please remember to subscribe, and also, if you would, ring the bell. That way you will get notified as soon as we release a new video, and it will really help us to build this channel. Feel free to leave us a comment below with any questions or topics you'd like to see us cover in a future video, and remember to hit that thumbs up button. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, have fun and stay safe in the shop.